for English programs for English programs here in Vietnam, in Hanoi, Vietnam. And I'm really excited today for our next webinar in our series aimed at teachers across our region, across ASEAN. And today we're looking at the topic of online skills for 21st century teachers. And we have a great panel for you. I can see the numbers are climbing. We're almost at 200 participants. So it's so while we're waiting for people to log on and to join us, just a few words of housekeeping. Yes, you can turn your cameras on, but please, if you wish, but please keep your microphones on mute during the main session. And please use the chat to make any comments, maybe tell us where you are. I can see lots of people saying hi from different places around the region and further afield. That's great, if you wish. And yet, please keep saying where you're from and how you're doing this afternoon or this morning or this evening, wherever you are in the world. It's great to see so many of you joining. And finally, also put in any questions. You can put those in the Q&A box as well. And please know, as you've probably seen, this session will be recorded, and we'll be sharing this on our YouTube channels as well, so people can watch the recording later. So by attending, obviously you acknowledge that we're going to use this recording. Right, and that's the housekeeping. We're climbing over 200 very rapidly, which is great. And I'm going to move on and start introducing today's panel. So we have 4 guest speakers who are all experts in the field of online skills for 21st centuries from around our region. As usual, I will go around the region in ASEAN alphabetical order. So first is from Indonesia, and that is Fanita. Fanita, over to you.
Thank you,
to say a few words about yourself, and maybe what kind of social media do you use as well?
All right, thank you for starting this. Hello, everyone. Hope you can hear my voice. I'm so thrilled to be here with you today, and greetings from Indonesia. My name is Finita. I am a lecturer at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia with passion for integrating technology into language learning. I'm also proud to be affiliated with ITEL. It's an association of language teachers and educators around Indonesia who share passion of technology and enhanced language learning. And over the past decade, I have the privilege of working closely with Indonesia. And since 2016, British Council and ITEL have been collaborating to provide professional development opportunities for teachers, hosting our conference, ITEL conference, and also at the very beginning of pandemic, we organized more than 30 sessions of webinars involving some speakers from Indonesia and also from UK. And just recently, we received UK ID partnership grant, and we also offer massive open online course on the use of technology for teaching. So speaking of social media, maybe later we can talk about this more, but I'm an active user of social media. I'm using Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, but unfortunately, I'm not using TikTok at the moment. So that's all from me. Over to you, Davide.
Thanks, Fanita. Terima kasih and selamat sore, I should have said at the beginning. Yes, so apologies for that. Right, we have over 300 participants so far, which is great. So from Indonesia, we continue going around our region, and this time we go to Myanmar and to Pyo. So Minglaba, Pyo.
Thanks, David. Minglaba. Hi, everyone. It's great to meet with all of you today. My name is Pyo, and I am from Myanmar. I've been teaching English for over 6 years, both face-to-face and online classes. But now I'm trying to be a good student here in the UK, pursuing my master degree in Tesol. When I saw today's topic of online skills for 21st century teacher, I just remember myself being nervous and having no ideas of what the online teaching will look like at the start of the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic back in 2020. but we didn't have any choice at that time, right? We were not ready, but we just have to move to online teaching. But this situation just gave me an idea of initiating an online discussion group for teachers like me, using the social media platform, Facebook, which is the most common social media platform for people in my country. So we just shared and discussed problems we have regarding teaching online. And we started with a small number of teachers, around about, if I remember, about 30 to 40 teachers. But our group has been growing, and it's now over 700 teachers, and I'm planning to introduce a new professional development program for our group members as soon as possible. I've been working on it. Okay, that's about me, and thank you again.
Thanks, Pierre. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, it's good to put it into context as well, about referring back to COVID and how everybody, probably everyone on the call, we're up to 360 participants now, how everyone has had to learn quickly and develop their online skills as at this part of the 21st century in terms of responding to COVID. So from Myanmar, we're going to go to Thailand and Misan. Sawadee Kap, Misan. I think you might be on mute, Misan.
Okay. Sawadee ka. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Misan Nun Anan. I am a secondary school. Sorry, I'm a teacher in a secondary school in Thailand. I'm teaching English for 10 years now, and my school is quite far from the city, and my students don't really have much technology to use in the classroom. And I've been teaching for 10 years, so I have experienced a lot of changes so far, especially before and after the pandemic. So I can see the difference how the students learn through the technology and social media. Normally, I use Facebook with my students, and sometimes they use other social media, for example, like YouTube or Facebook, to learn from the internet or from each other as well. So this is the skill that I think they might have to use in the future for learning.
Great, thanks, Misan. And last but not by no means least, we go just down the road from where I am in Hanoi, up the road to Nyat. So, Xin Chào, Nyat. Can you say a little bit about yourself and your experience of online teaching and teacher training?
Thank you so much, David, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. It's such an honor for me to be here in the webinar today. First of all, I would like to introduce about myself. I'm an teacher educator in Vietnam, and I have been in the field for 15 years. So currently, I'm working for a public university in Vietnam. Its name is Hanoi Pedagogical University #2. It is one of the core pedagogical university in Vietnam. So for my interest, I'm especially interested in technology and language learning, and I have been studying and investigating and implementing in my career, teaching and researching. I did studies in my MA and also my PhD as well. Recently, I am lucky enough to be involved in a project, collaboration project with an international in the UK, where we conducted 2 projects in teacher development, and we focus on the use of online technology as the media, as the tool to continue professional development for teachers and for language learning for students. Especially in the context of COVID-19, we found that with online learning, we have been successful in helping the teachers to continue their professional development and also give positive impact on the student. And the project was sponsored by British Council. And you know that for me, I think that using technology is really important. And in my own teaching, for example, I use Facebook, Zalo, Zoom, and also YouTube medias and many other resources to support the learning for the students. So that is about me. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Nya. And yeah, thank you very much, everyone. So that's our panel for this afternoon. And it's great to see we have over 400, getting close to 450 people joining us already this afternoon. And yeah, from right across the region, I've seen Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, Viet Nam, and many others, Myanmar as well, and also even as far as the UK and other places as well. So it's great to see everyone where people are joining us from today. Just a few more points to make before we get into our discussion. Oops. Yes, if you have any questions or any comments, please put them in the Q&A section here, or for those of you watching on Facebook Live, if you put them in the chat as well. I have colleagues from the British Council who are hopefully going to help me to share some of the questions, and that maybe we can put some of those, maybe not all of them, to some of our panel as well as we go through our topics for this afternoon. And also towards the end of today's session as well, we're going to introduce you to a new course that just opened yesterday, looking at online skills for 21st century teachers. So hopefully you can spend the next 4 weeks if you're interested in this topic. If our discussion today arouses your interest in developing this skill as a teacher, you can find out more about that and how to enroll later on. Misan is going to hopefully access that. Okay, so that's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to stop sharing for now. And yeah, so we're going to have a few questions around some of the topics that you will find in the course itself, in the online course that started. So first of all, yeah, let's go back to that, how you engage with social media, both personally and also as a teacher as well, and with your students. So maybe back to Finita first of all. You were talking about some of your experiences with ITEL and also with the British Council. Maybe you could say a little bit more about why you think social media online skills are so important for teachers these days.
Yeah, thank you, Daphne. Maybe I will start with how I use my social media for my personal use. And
Sure.
I think the participant here can also share in the chat what's your favorite social media and how you use your social media for yourself. As for me, the first social media that I had was Facebook back in, I think, 2007, when it was just established for public. And I use it to get connected with friends, people of the same generation with me, and maybe older generation, because younger generation, they don't use Facebook anymore. Trust me. They are on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and others, but not on Facebook. So I also joined some Facebook group relevant to my interests, like technology, English language teaching, instructional design. I love it. I love joining and get ideas from that. I also on Instagram. Instagram is more for showing off pictures and get connected with my students. Most of them are on Instagram. And for Twitter, I love Twitter because I can get connected with big names in the LT. Like, for example, from UK, I follow Nick Peachy, Joe Dale. They always give me lots and lots of inspiration for teaching. And I think as a frequent user of social media, I think having social media skill is really important. We need to have the ability to use the platform effectively, responsibly, manage our social media profile, because people usually see who we are from our social media behavior. So we need to watch out what's our posts and how we comment to others. We also need to understand the privacy setting. It is pretty lucky that nowadays the social media developer give a lot of authority for us to control how we want our social media to be seen by others. Is it public? How we filter that, and who can? Sometimes I filter my friend who usually post like negative or complain about their days. It doesn't give me good mood, so I don't unfriend them. I just filter their posts.
You can always hide. You can always hide them.
Yeah. we can always hide them without disconnecting with from our network, right? Like, yeah. And then as educators, we also be involved in so many teachers' professional development. We can get many information, getting in touch with people, getting teaching resources and so on. So I think social media has a lot of potential. Also, there are some risks also.
Sure. Yeah, we'll come back to the risks later on. Actually, it's good that you've mentioned that at the end. And as you posed the question, it's been amazing looking in the chat how people have been putting in the chat. I hope you can see all the different social media channels that people are using and why they like them. Some of them I don't even know. I'm so old. Some of them I do know, but I'm not a member of. I'm not going to tell you which ones. I'm probably a bit old school in terms of using Facebook. Let's move again, going around the panel. Pio, what about for you? What again with Finita was talking very much about, you know, her own personal use and also as a teacher. What about that the relationship perhaps between teachers and students and the use of social media, digital tools for that relationship?
Thank you, David. Thank you, Finita. So like Finita just said, like we are like quite different from the today's generation. They have begun like digital native. Why we are like digital immigrants? So it's a little bit different between them. So in my context, we use Facebook a lot, and in addition to other types of media. So personally, I just want to say that when it comes to social media skill, we can use it to not to engage with students and parents, but also we can use it to network with other educators. That's as I highlighted in my introduction sections. So we have set up a Facebook group to network with other teachers. I think that's the best way to show our ideas and resources and to collaborate in projects. You know, like we can create a community of practice on social media, or maybe like we can create professional learning networks through a social media platform. In addition, I think that social media, like Finita just said, like social media has become like our second identity these days. So the way we create our posts online also reflect our. So having a good, how can I say, skill in using social media will help us to build our profiles. For example, if I am a teacher, so I just show some tips or some ideas that I got from teaching my classes, and I share it in my online, and it shows that I'm passionate about my field, and it's like building up a reputation for me as well. But on the other hand, we also need to be careful about the privacy, especially the online safety. We need to promote online safety through using the social media applications, especially to use social media responsibly and addressing cyberbullying, because a lot of how can I say, cyberbullying problems are based on the using social media. So overall, I think that when it comes to using social media, in addition to knowing how to use that platform, we can also use it to network with other educators, and we can create engaging content with students and parents. And also we need to promote online safety on the other hand.
Thanks, Pio. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting talking about, as you say, creating those communities. And the communities can be amongst teachers or between teachers and students or between teachers, students and parents. So again, those different levels and different layers. And that's really fascinating. And as you say, how do we kind of regulate those conversations and how people behave perhaps on those? And that kind of leads nicely. I think Misan, we were talking today, and you mentioned about, and Pio and Finita have both touched on it, maybe the generational gap between teachers and students. Again, it was interesting in the chat. I saw someone mentioned Friendster, and Finita's comment was like, "Oh my God, I forgot about Friendster. That's such a long time ago." So again, already, even though social media has only been around maybe 20 years or so, less than 20 years maybe, there's already kind of that generational divide. Misan, do you want to talk about that a little bit, perhaps?
Normally, in my context, my students are among grade 9 to grade 12. So they are teenagers. Lots of them use Facebook and Instagram, but we connect with each other. I mean, like with the teachers and the student with the Facebook, because they are teenagers. They try to, they want everybody to, they want to be like the center of the society, and they try to create their own personality, and they show it to the world. It's kind of mini society for them. When they use, maybe they love the other to like put like on their photos and put the comments on it, and they really appreciate what they give, what they get from the feedback. This is how I find out it's work for learning as well, because when they tend to go to the Facebook more often than go to the textbook, so why don't we put something on the textbook? Because when I was student, I used textbook. In my generation, we don't really use the internet to find the information when we study, but the student these days, they use a lot of internet. They use online tools to go to the wide world. So I think social media will help teacher to get closer to the students. So we have to like be update all the time.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Misan. Yeah, again, I love that idea of connection, because we're already we're over 500. We're up to 510 participants now, which I think was one of our biggest ever. And including my colleagues have just said, we've even got people here from Ghana and from Nigeria on the Facebook Live. So people from all around the globe, not just from ASEAN as well. So again, it's a great way to, through forums like this, to connect. I'm going to change the topic slightly and put maybe a little bit on the spot. We've got a question here from Chanarit. Chanarit asks, how can teachers, we've talked a lot about some of the positives, but let's think about some of the challenges now. How can teachers, and this can be for Nyut first, but maybe anybody can jump in. As teachers, how can we prevent some of the drawbacks of digital learning apps such as ChatGPT? Which is a very hot topic at the moment, I think.
Yes, and that's really interesting question. Yes.
Thanks, Chanarit, for that question.
Yes. Yeah, I would like to address that question as well as to add to Misan and Finita comments. So first of all, I would like to say that using social media have a lot of advantages, as the other expert have mentioned. But we as a teacher or learner, we should know how to use the technology, or here in this case, the social media, in a very appropriate, culturally and legally and appropriately way, because using technology doesn't necessarily bring the benefits. For me, I want to focus on ChatGPT. Many students and also my colleagues ask me, so do you think that in the future, teacher will be replaced with ChatGPT and other AI technology? But my question is, do you think that all the information online is reliable? Do you think that all the information are correct or legally or culturally appropriate? So I think what the role of the teacher need to change now. Maybe in the past, traditionally, teachers have the role of introducing the knowledge, but that can be done quite well with the use of technology. The role of teacher now is need to develop the skills for the students to evaluate, to select, to exploit materials so that they can use the materials in an appropriate way. So yeah, I think the role of teacher had changed a lot. So my answer for the question whether ChatGPT can replace teachers is no. I definitely a strong no for that. Yes, that's my comment.
All right, and and as you were answering that question, there's again lots of different comments coming in. Someone even asked the question, will ChatGPT, it's very difficult to say that, replace teachers' positions and books? And again, other people talking about other, similar apps that are on the way, such as Google Bard and Bing Chat and so on and so forth. Finita, you're going to add something to that conversation.
Yeah, although maybe this is drifting away from our main topic, but I can wait to respond to these ChatGPT things, because this is very hot, right? Many people are afraid that students will, teachers will be replaced by ChatGPT, or students will learn only through ChatGPT. Yes, teachers, you need to be aware. If you just teach, giving the knowledge, just like what Nyap said, that you will teach the way ChatGPT teach the student. So what I did in my classroom is I invite the students to learn with ChatGPT. Then we try to evaluate. Somebody mentioned that sometimes ChatGPT doesn't give the right answer. So let's evaluate the correctness of the content. Let's compare, contrast what ChatGPT mentioned, maybe what Bing mentioned. And actually our job as a teacher is to build network for our students and facilitate collaboration. The content is there on the tip of our students' hands, so we need to shift from the knowledge deliverer, become the facilitator for the students to collaborate. That's what I can add.
Thanks.
Definitely.
Thanks, Finita. Yeah, and again, fascinating to see some of the comments in the chat as well from people around this, and around also for us as teachers, as you all of you have been saying, how we as teachers, again, if you think about the title and the topic, how can we develop those online skills for us as 21st century teachers to help our learners? And so I'll bring it back to the topic, although I don't think we strayed too far from the topic, and we'll move on now to a topic about etiquette and netiquette. And what we understand by that. Again, it was interesting. Aritiyapa was talking about ChatGPT may be good on certain things, but it can't discuss, it can't negotiate, it can't show empathy and sympathy. So let's talk a little bit about some of those issues about netiquette. And I think maybe Pio, you want to talk about that first.
Thank you, David. Yeah. So firstly, I would like to say what is netiquette. It's actually the etiquette that we have to follow in our society. The same go with why we are using or interacting online. We have to follow the netiquette because we are netizens. Especially when we are using online, when we are interacting online, is like sometimes it might not be a face-to-face situation. For example, like we couldn't see like the how can I say, facial expressions or the body language. So the only way for us to communicate will be like using the language. In that case, the language we use has to be a kind of polite language, and we also need to be careful about the tone of the language. Sometimes we might make maybe not intentionally, like we use all capital letters in our while we write something, and it might mean kind of being angry to others in other cultures. That's one of the things we need to follow when it comes to the netiquette. And also we need to another thing is we also need to respect the privacy of others. And we also need to how can I say, be respectful of them, and because it's like maybe we might do it unintentionally, but it might be an insult to others. We just share a joke, but it might be an insult for others. Yeah.
Thanks, Pio. Yeah, and Misan, you were talking again. I like before you were talking about perhaps the generational divide. So, in terms of what can be or what should be the netiquette between perhaps teachers and students online, what can we do to develop those skills amongst both teachers and our students as well?
Okay, because I am in the different context with other speakers here, because my students are teenagers, and because I try to tell them that I teach English as a tool to communicate with other people. So it means that we have to talk, to listen, to read, and to write. So sometimes I can pick up some topic from the real situation in the social media as well, or in the K-drama that they like to watch. For example, I give them what they should do or they should not do online or on the social media, so it's not have the bad effect on other people, like do or don'ts. And they come up with a lot, they brainstorming, and they come up with a lot of ideas or experience that they have done before. And we not only think about the language we study, but we think about how we can be in the society and use the language properly. So we think about how we think of others as well as we think of ourselves when we go online. So it's about do and don'ts and think about others.
Yeah, I like that point about. I think we talked before about showing empathy and being mindful of others and how others might respond, as both you and Pio have been talking about. If we can move on now, again, there's lots of, again, it's fantastic. I'm just trying to keep my eye on the chat. So many great comments and observations coming in from our 510 participants. But we're going to move on now to think a little bit about our digital footprint. So again, it was interesting before when people were putting in the chat some of the tools that they use now, or maybe tools that they've used in the past, or maybe are just starting to use. What do we mean, or what do we understand by that term, the digital footprint? Maybe you can go to Vanita first. And why is it important for us to think about this?
Yeah, well, digital footprint is something that we have in the past following us digitally, something that we post, the comments, everything that we have. When we talk about social media, everything that how we engage with social media. Some people might try to prevent putting too much digital footprint on their social media. But as for me, I love to flood my social media with my digital footprint, sharing technology tools or a project that I did with my students. Some students production and things like that. And usually some people will ask me, how did you do that? What kind of technology tools that you use? And then some might replicate that in their teaching and learning context. Some might get back to me and saying that, oh, I did this and it was successful. And it's like I'm creating an unstructured, informal teacher professional development opportunities. So that's how I love about creating my digital footprint. And it's like creating just like what Pio mentioned, digital identity. People know that I love technology. I love to teach using technology. Although many people feel afraid of having too much digital footprints whatsoever and trying to avoid the negative consequences, I'd prefer to create opportunities for myself on the positive side of my digital footprint. So I try to cultivate the positive online presence, sharing my skills, interests with others, and also learn from others and open doors of new connections, opportunities, experience that we might never have otherwise if I never try to flood my social media. So that's what I think about digital footprint.
Thank you. Nya, what about you? Do you have the same opinion as Vanita, or do you have a slightly different view, perhaps?
Okay. For me, I think when listening to Vanita sharing, I know that Vanita is approaching actively to the digital footprint. So there are two kinds of, leaving the footprint on media. One is passive, and the other one is active. So if you're already aware about what kinds of information you should post, which platform is reliable, and you actively contribute to the media, that is a good side. But for many students, I have to say, and also for some teacher, maybe they are not aware that the information they put online will be checked even long times ago. So my personal experience is I'm kind of conscious in posting information online, and also I'm very selecting in the information or the website or the platform that I will contribute. So and I always raise that awareness to my students if possible, so that they should, using social media have two sides that can give you the opportunity to develop your identity, another version of yourself. So it also can influence the others who are using social media. So you should have the responsibility to yourself and to the others. So be careful with the information you share and you post. That from my own experience.
Yeah, I'm really glad you talked there about raising awareness. As you say, which goes back to things like Netiquette as well. It's like we can't just assume that everybody knows how to behave online. It's not the same as the real world. So again, it's about us as teachers making sure we raise awareness amongst our learners and amongst our friends and colleagues, what is acceptable and what is perhaps not less acceptable or not acceptable. And again, that can then help us in terms of not leaving behind a positive footprint, a digital footprint, as Vanita mentioned, rather than a negative one. Because as we said before, we don't know in 10 or 20 or 30 years time what's still going to be around and what impact, how people might use or abuse that to learn about us. Okay, so we're going to move on now to another topic. And again, I saw in the chat just a few minutes ago, Sheila Anjarani, I think it was, talked about we need to develop the I'm trying to find her comment, but there's so many comments in the chat, I can't scroll back very quickly. But she was asking about critical thinking and critical thinking skills and how to develop those. So I think maybe we can spend a few minutes talking about that. Again, kind of building on what we've just been talking about in terms of the netiquette and being aware of a digital footprint. Maybe if I can go to Misam first. So how do you help your students to develop their critical thinking skills when using things online and accessing apps online?
Okay. My students are teenagers. I need to focus on this again because and they are not really into the information to develop themselves or to learn something. They just use social media for fun. So as a teacher, I think I can be we should be the role model for the student, that we not only have fun from the internet, but we can also learn something new from the internet as well. So not I also use the real situation in the internet, or even use my Facebook or YouTube to be the material in the classroom. And sometimes when they have to read something that they have to find out more information about the topic, I asked them to find out in English as well. For example, last semester, I asked them to do the debate about will we have about cloning human in the future, for example. And in Thailand, there are not much information about this topic because we don't have cloning. So they have to find out the information from the internet, and then I asked them to try to select the information, because not everything on the internet is reliable. So yes, and they seems to be enthusiastic to find more information that they never learned before. And I think if I can give some advice to other teachers, I think we as a teacher can be the role model for the student to use the internet. Like when we share something on Facebook, we should like filter something if it's good or bad before we put it on our Facebook, so they can see that, oh, I think before I share, so you should do it too.
That's a great piece of advice. Think before you share.
Yeah.
Later on, we're going to have
Thank you.
before we finish, we're going to have some top tips from our panel just before the hour. But that already is a fantastic piece of advice in terms of developing critical thinking skills amongst our students. I'm going to move to Pyo for the same question again. How, as a teacher, how do you think you develop your students' critical thinking skills, or building on what Misan has been saying?
Thank you, David. So building on what Misa have just said, like she is helping her students to get into critical thinking skills. How can I say? Instead of explaining what is critical thinking, and so to be a critical thinker, we have to do like this. Instead, I also agree with Misan that we have to, how can I say, let students think, participate in activities to think critically. So my idea is so the way I do is like I always integrate a group activity in my lesson. For example, let's say introducing different types of digital media. In that case, instead of explaining what are the digital media or something like this, I just assign each group, like for example, a social media post for each group, and then the video for another group. So then each group will have to think about the assigned topic, like types of digital media, and then they have to discuss and find out what are the key features, what are the downsides of these medias or something like this. So by discussing and by thinking about good points and bad points, they are also developing critical thinking. And then they have to present to the class. After the presentation, I also give them a chance to reflect on what they have just discussed. So it's like the way I do, I help students to develop critical thinking, just let them participate in doing real activities. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. And I think that's a really nice point, actually, to talk about and to develop that skill of reflection, and reflecting on what we're doing in the classroom, reflecting what we do in real life, reflecting what we do in the digital space as well, both for us as teachers and for our students as well. I think that's a really important kind of soft skill to develop. We're going to wrap up now in just a few minutes, but I'm going to ask, somebody was asking before in the chat, yes, where can we register for the course? In just a few minutes, Misan is going to help us to do that. But before we go to Misan, I just want to pose a question, and maybe Nyut or Finita can pick up on this. And again, it's kind of related to the topic of critical thinking, I think. Somebody's asked, I wonder, when someone learns English online, can they communicate in the real world? Are there any difficulties in transferring the situation or the language from the real world to the online world, or vice versa? Any thoughts on that? It's quite a thought-provoking question, I think. Any thoughts on that?
Okay, so I think with the development of many tools such as video conferencing tools like Zoom, Skype, and many other apps, I think students nowadays have more opportunity to be exposed to the real environment of language learning and teaching, especially in this case here is the interaction with speakers of English in the real life. So I think that is a good thing, and we should take advantage of that. But go back to the advice from us here is that we as a teacher always should raise awareness for the student, and student needs to be equipped with the skills to communicate online, the culturally and legally communication need to be mentioned, need to be trained for the student before they can actually go online to communicate with others. And I think the language for online talking will be different as well. So with a lot of different resources, such as the course that British Council is going to deliver very soon, or for example, in our university, we have a course called computer assisted language learning, and in that course we always introduce the student about the technology standards for language teachers and learners, and students go through all the standards to see what are the expectations for them, and also they have the time to reflect on the skill they need to be equipped, and then they have some practice. So I think that preparation is really important. And also, as technology is developed, every day. So in addition to being trained in a specific course, they also need to equip themselves by self-study. Yeah, so with all kinds of training and self-learning and lifelong learning, they will become more competent in online communication. Yes.
Thanks, Nya. Yeah, and I think that kind of leads us. There's a very nice piece of advice, I think, from Haji. I hope I pronounced your name right. I don't know if you can see that, Finita, from Haji at 443. Who says to establish critical thinking, she or he posts a source displayed in a social media and asks the pupils to maybe verify the data, to do some research to find out if that data is legitimate, if it's from a reliable source, if it's fake. Do you have any thoughts about developing those skills, either as consumers of information, or maybe I think we were talking before about maybe creating content as well?
Yeah. As we are talking about how technology is used to facilitate students for learning, we have different kinds of technology, like what Nyat mentioned before, that we can use technology as the media for people to get connected using video conference, for example. But there are also some other technology like artificial intelligence, like ELSA or ORAI, which can be used to practice our pronunciation. In the past, when we practice our pronunciation and teacher will say, repeat after me, for example, if the student keep making mistake, the teacher will get angry, right? But AI will never get angry. You keep ask questions, you keep making mistake, AI will say, try again. Or you are doing great, you may want to improve. So AI is a very passionate teacher. And speaking of students as the producer of technology, sometimes I ask my students to create product using technology. So they are learning not from technology as a resource, but learning with technology. They learn how to create digital comic, for example, facilitated by the technology. They learn, they collaborate, they insert some audio, giving text, and so on. So I try to transform from students as only the consumer. They watch, they read, they listen, to the producer of technology. They create, they make their own technology and can be consumed by others. That's what I did with my students.
And I think if we think about that, it's a really nice example, because it's just how in teaching English, we move from the receptive skills, listening and reading, to the productive skills, speaking and writing. And it's about taking that another stage further and thinking, okay, in the 21st century with social media and all the digital and online tools and apps, how can we create in a much broader sense and really communicate and share. Thanks. Nya has also put in some link there to some standards, some Tesol technology standards, again, to help us as teachers to think how we can help our learners to know what's acceptable, what's not acceptable in using technology in both inside and outside the classroom. So that's another great link. We just have about 10 minutes left, and I'm going to bring things to a close now. But in a few minutes, I'm going to ask all of our panelists to give us one or two hopefully one top tip for how to help us as teachers develop our online skills as 21st century teachers to help our learners in the 21st century. But before we do that, I'm going to ask Misan. So again, somebody, as I said before, was asking how can we learn more about this? Obviously, today we only have an hour to discuss this topic. There's so many comments. It's great to see so many people contributing ideas in the chat and asking questions. I wish we had more time to continue the conversation, to address more of the comments, but hopefully through the course, we can find out about that. So Misan, can you share your screen and show everybody how to log on to Teaching English, first of all, and then to find the course and how to enroll on the course?
Okay.
And I think Pio, Finita, and Nyut have already logged on so that they can help us. We can workshop in real time. We can get you onto the course.
Please help me. So I will use the Google Chrome, and how can I share my screen?
If you put on the share screen button, I'll hand over to Finita. Yeah.
Okay. This one, share. So now, can you see my screen?
Yes. So if you just put in if you put in Teaching English. In one word, and normally it's the first one that pops up. If you just click on
this
that.
One?
Just teaching English, not Teaching English Online, Teaching English. So in the search box, can you just put Teaching English? Nope, that's Misan froze. Yeah. Now try that now. Yeah, try that now.
Teaching English. Okay. And then Teaching English and British Council.
There you go. There you go. If you put Teaching English, it's the first thing that pops up. Okay, right. And if you go to if you go to the far right, if you go to training courses, and you click on that.
Okay.
Yep. And you can see on the front page there, enroll on this course. So you can see there, if you just drop down, you can see the very first course there is the course that started yesterday. If you click on that, or on the home page as well.
Online skills for 21st century teachers. Okay.
That's the one. Yep.
Okay.
All right, and if you scroll down, then you can scroll down and you can, there you go. How to access the course. Okay, so if you click
on desktop.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, first you have to if you look at the top there, it says, how do I sign up for the course? Okay. So there's a number of steps there. So the first, you have to create if you haven't already got an account, if you create a free account with your details, and then you can enroll on the course.
I have to create one because I
That's fine.
have never to.
That's fine. No problem.
Sure. So I have to put like my email address. Okay.
Yeah. Well, yes. Don't reveal your address though, if possible. And keep your password. That should be secret anyway.
Yeah. My password is ...
Yes, and then confirm the password.
Okay. And then
your name and your information for the that will be your information going forward.
Okay.
And that's it. You don't have to put the country. You don't have to put your phone number. No need for that. Okay.
Okay.
You want to receive emails from British Council Teaching English, and then you click on the terms and conditions, and then you should. Are you over 18? Yes, I think so, Misan.
Okay.
Okay, and then create new account.
Okay.
Oops. So we got some issues there. All right, so yeah, so sometimes we have some challenges with these. So again, it's worth just spending a little bit of time. Maybe you can correct that now, and if not, we can ask people to do that in their own time. See if we can fix them first very quickly.
Okay.
These are the typical obstacles that we all have when we register for new
Yeah, and
website
this one,
things.
provide surname,
And your
family.
family name. Did you have at the bottom? I think that was. And maybe it didn't like the line in the middle.
Okay.
Try
So
that. Try
let's
that
try
now.
again.
See if it likes that. Oh, it still doesn't like the pass. Still doesn't like your password.
It's about the password. Yeah.
Okay.
You need to put one uppercase on your password. One uppercase, one capital letter.
One capital letter.
Okay, okay. I can see why my students don't like using like Google Classroom or something like this. Let me check again. No. I wish.
Third time lucky. Yay.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So now you're logged in. So now if you scroll down, then you should now be able to enroll on the course. So if you go back up a little bit, okay, and if you go back up the other way. Keep
Which
going.
one?
Above here. Here. Now click on the course website. Okay.
Okay.
And hopefully it should take you through, and you should be able to access the course. So the point is that you have, if you've not already, because obviously everybody can access the Teaching English website free of charge. But in order to access the course, you need to register. And again, Misan's just showing you how to register. And again, now you can see, if you look on the left-hand side, you can see there on the left-hand column, online skills for 21st century teachers, which started yesterday. So if you just scroll down a little bit, Misan, and then you can click on that button underneath, enroll in activity. If you click on that, and that should take you through. That should take you through to the course. There you go. Oh no, not yet.
Which one?
Go to my courses to start. Where is it? Scroll down. I think it should be somewhere.
Which one?
Oh,
I think you need to go up.
I'll go up.
Yeah. There.
Maybe go back.
At the menu on top.
Yeah, my learning at the top.
My learning.
At the top, my learning. Yeah, my courses.
Courses.
There you go. Well done, Finita.
Okay. Thank you.
There you go.
There you go. That's it. Now you can start, and you can see your progress. Okay.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
So thank you, Misan, for doing that and showing us some of the problems that people have. That's exactly why it takes us a few minutes. It took us maybe 6 minutes to do that, but it's worthwhile because we can see exactly the kind of problems that everybody has. Things like passwords and other putting in the information correctly. But once you're in, it's very easy. It's very easy to find that. Okay, brilliant.
Thank you, Finita.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Finita. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Misan. So to finish, I know we're just coming up to 5 o'clock here in Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand, but I'm just going to go around very quick. Yeah, if you can stop sharing now, that'd be great. Just to say, before I ask everybody for their top tips, I'm going to share my PowerPoints very quickly. I hope, if you just bear with me a second. Yes. Okay. Share. So thanks to Misan for sharing that. I hope you can see Can you see the screen? Yeah, can you see the
Yes.
course? So as I say, the course will open yesterday, last 4 weeks, about 12 hours of study time. There are also Facebook and Facebook Live events. And at the end of the course, you can receive a British Council certificate as well. And as Misan has just shown you, you can enroll completely free of charge as long as you register on Teaching English. And Misan's shown you how to do that. So thanks for that. What else is coming up in April? There's going to be a whole series of events. So again, if you click onto the news and events page on Teaching English, you can see the series of events called Creativity and 21st Century Skills, which is a series of about 4 webinars, again, going back to some of the things that all of our panel have been talking about today, how we can be creative ourselves as teachers and how we can encourage that creativity amongst our learners as well. And finally, if you would like to receive an e-certificate for attending this webinar, please give us your feedback. If you have your phone with you now, you can take a picture of the QR code and you can give us your feedback, and then you'll receive an e-certificate, or one of my British Council colleagues will be putting in the chat the link, and you can click on the link in the chat and you can give us your feedback on the webinar, today's webinar, and then you'll receive an e-certificate from us at British Council. Okay, that's all my announcements for today. And to finish at 5:01, we're going to go quickly around everybody and to get your top tips to finish about the topic about how to develop online skills for 21st century teachers. I'm going to go to Misan first. Misan, what's your top tip?
My tips is, I think, if we are teachers, we think about how students learn first. If we know when or where or how students can learn better, then we can try to find a way to develop our skill in teaching through the technology, to the digital skills, and yeah, it's gonna be like better.
Yeah, thanks, Misan. And I love your tip before about think before you share. I thought that's a really nice one as well. Yeah, and yeah, be thinking about being empathetic as well. Nyat, what's your top tip or top tips for this topic?
For me, if I have to choose a top tip, I would like to mention that for educators and learners, social media can be a tremendous tool to reach students, parents, and enhance the classroom instruction. So why it is wise for us to be careful and cautious online. There's no need to be afraid. So be actively upgrade your skills and knowledge to use the social media efficiently.
Thanks, Nia. Yeah, and people have been asking about the certificate and the feedback form. If you look in the chat now, you'll see the link there for the feedback form. And once you give us your feedback, you'll then get the link for the e-certificate. So please just click on that link. I am going to go to Pio.
Thank you.
Your top tip.
Yeah. Okay. So looking back, the main topic of our today's webinar is like online skills for 21st century teacher. So I want to say that online skill is under the umbrella term of digital literacy, and then 21st century skill will be like critical thinking and collaboration that we have talked about. When we think about these skills, we don't have to think that they are separate skills from our normal teaching, language teaching, for example. So we can incorporate these skills into our teaching. For example, we can do a mini debate. In that case, the topic will be something related with technology, like the benefits or the downside of using social media. And then as it's a debate, so students will have chance to collaborate and to think critically by giving supporting details for their side, or so they agree or disagree like this. At the same time, we can also practice language skills, like language to use, like agree and disagreeing, also giving reasons or something like this. So that's what I want to say. Like we can incorporate these skills into our teaching. It's not like a separate thing. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point, actually, that they can all be integrated into our teaching, whether we're teaching back in the classroom, face to face, or online. We can still integrate this, because going back to what Misan was saying before, we know that our learners every day, maybe even in the class, they're using social media on their phones, let alone outside of the classroom. So how to integrate that and raising their awareness of how to use that appropriately and safely as well, I think it's very important. Last but by no means least, Finita, your top tip at 5:05.
Okay, thank you, David. Since you put me on the last, I'd rather not to give tips, but I'd rather give challenge to everybody. So one positive post at a time. This is what I usually say to my students. So let's challenge ourselves to think about our role in shaping the digital landscape. Social media has become a powerful tool for communication and connection, but too often it is used to spread negativity, hate, and division. So why can't we try committing sharing positive vibes on social media? Use our platform to share inspiring stories, intriguing classroom activities, useful and updated information, or uplifting messages. So by doing so, we can make real difference in the world and create more positive, connected online community. If you feel doubtful, then maybe you should join the MOOC from British Council.
Thank you. Thanks, Finita. And I think that's a great way to finish today. It's on a as you say, on a positive vibe, and the idea of spreading positivity and not negativity through social media and through online. And yeah, just to echo the very last comment I can see in the chat, says from Tun Nguyen, says, thank you so much to all the speakers. You've all been amazing today, and I don't think there's much more that I can add to that. So all I'll say is thank you, everybody. Thanks to all the panelists, to Pyo, to Misan, to Nyat, and to Finita, and to all 500 people who are still on the call from around the region and around the world. Thanks so much for staying with us today for the last hour and 7 minutes. I really hope you found it useful. And as Finita said, if you're interested to learn more about this topic, please join the course as Misan has just shown you. Have a great day, evening, wherever you are in the world. And thanks. We'll see you all again next month when our topic is speaking. Okay, but for now, bye for now. See you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.